Welcome to day 63 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. We're doing one thing every day to be a better version of ourselves, a better person. You be a better you, I be a better me, through this month, focusing on topics of communication. So today's slightly deeper dive is into modes of communication. We're going to talk about 5 different modes of communication and how you might use them in your daily life. Now, keep in mind, I'm old enough now, at least in a week, to remember that number 5 on our list didn't even exist up until the 1990s. So, at least in a way that others could access it. What are these different types and modes of communication, and how are we going to use them? For our action item today, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do right off the bat so you can think about it while we're going through an explanation of each of the different types. We're just going to list the different types. Visual, visual. Well, visual is number 4. Verbal, nonverbal, written, visual, and digital. Digital is, of course, the one that didn't used to exist, but it is so powerful, and there's so many benefits to it. Now, normally, I would talk about the benefits and the shortcomings of each of these different modes of communication, and then when and how to use it. But I've got a write-up. I've got I think a 3 or 4 page write-up, a 4-page write-up on it. So if you want that, just put day 63 in the comments below, and I will send it to you. Day 63, and I'll figure out a way to attach it, or I'll put it in the group or something so that you can get access to it as a file in and of itself. Because it goes into detail. Like, for example, verbal communication. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of that? Let me grab my magnifying glass. Number 1, you get immediate feedback and engagement. What the heck is verbal communication? It is, of course, speaking and listening. And we're going to deep dive into each of these modes of communication, as well as speaking and listening throughout the course of this month. But you get immediate feedback engagement. You get emotional depth when you're having a conversation with someone, whether it's over Zoom, which is really digital, or in person. You can hear the person's tone of voice. You can see their facial expressions. You can see their gestures and their hand movements and get a better feeling for what it is that their intention is and what they're trying to express. You can clarify by expressing and asking questions and clarifying questions in order to understand the ideas that are trying to be presented by the person speaking. Shortcomings, of course, are you can misinterpret the tone or the delivery, right? I will often use the wrong tone and delivery with people I love and care about in my family, usually because I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt. It requires good listening skills. And guess what? None of us are born with good listening skills. We have to acquire them. It is a lifelong goal and work in progress for me personally to become a better listener. And then we're not always ideal for complex and technical issues, right? Sometimes in writing or in speaking, we can explain something, but we also need some visuals or graphics or something to support that, especially if it's technical things. I've got a technical degree, so I know that if I had professors in college and people in different businesses I've worked in and worked with, and all they did was talk to me about something, it didn't show me and illustrate in some way the complex things they were talking about, it just takes longer and it's harder to understand. Truly, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So where would you use this? Where is the best place to use verbal communication? Well, in personal relationships, leadership, sales, and customer service, right? How do you build understanding with customers and with relationships if you're not talking to one another, right? I think one of the biggest breakdowns in relationships is when we're not communicating and not talking to one another. We can use an upbeat, confident tone in business meetings to inspire our team, right? We can use a confident, upbeat tone with our children and our grandchildren to inspire the behavior we want in them, right? We always want to be pointing out what we want in people, not what we don't want, because whatever we pay attention to, we get more of. Finally, you can practice active listening in personal conversations to deepen trust and empathy. Absolutely, positively. If I'm having a conversation with you and I'm, like this, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm writing things down that have nothing to do with what our conversation's about, you know that I'm not paying attention. I am not present with you. Therefore, I am not listening and being a good verbal communicator. So for each of the 5 different modes, we've got a description like this: benefits, shortcomings, when to use it, and how to use it, and then an example for business and an example for your personal life. So what's an example of how you'd use verbal in your personal life? Of course, in our personal life, we would use it to express appreciation or gratitude to a loved one, right? How about saying thank you and please to your loved ones and to yourself as much as you would other people? Do you say excuse me to people in the grocery aisle if you need to get by them, or if you want to look at something that they're blocking? I sure hope you do. I have noticed that fewer and fewer people are actually practicing verbal daily niceties and manners. And I always just say, if you treat people the way you want to be treated, you will not be disappointed. If you treat people in ways that you wouldn't want to be treated, then we've got some work to do. All right. So verbal communication. What we're going to do today is we're going to notice and think of where we actually use verbal communication, how we use it, do we use it in a positive or a negative way? Because guess what? Sometimes we use it in a negative way. Sometimes our tone of voice, like me, at the granddaughters, is not exactly positive. It's usually, again, out of fear that somebody's going to get hurt or hurt somebody else. But there's better ways to approach that, which I'm learning from my daughter. Nonverbal. What are nonverbal cues? Nonverbal cues are eye contact, body language. Am I sitting up straight and confidently? Or am I slouching in my chair and talking in a monotone? Totally different message comes across, right? We can use nonverbal in business and in our personal life. In our personal life, we can use it to smile and have open gestures when we're having conversations with people. One of my favorite things to do is to go for walks and then look people in the eye, smile at them, and tell them good morning, afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, because the reactions you get are really, really interesting. And you learn a lot about yourself and about other people by just simply doing that, by saying hello, by making eye contact, using open body language. If you're slouched down and walking, people don't say hello and they don't look at you. But if you are looking up, confident, walking, and smiling at people, they engage. They at least say hello, hey, have a great day, or something. Written communication is the next one. And here's where we can really shine or struggle. I will tell you right now, none of us are awesome at all these modes of communication, right? We have stronger skills in one area than we do another. And we'll talk about that later, but think about this as you're going about your day. What kind of nonverbal cues are you using well? What kind of nonverbals are you totally forgetting about? It's really fun working with or being around little children, because they get this idea early on that if they don't look you in the eye, then they don't have to listen to what you say because they don't see you. And so that's an area of nonverbals where we can make sure we're making eye contact with people before we communicate or as we're communicating. Written communication, I would say this used to be my favorite until I had vision challenges. And then it became less my favorite, reading and writing and using written communication. I still write every day in my notebooks, in my journals, in my annual challenges. But I do not go back and read them as much as I wish that I could and that I used to, because reflection is a very important personal development and growth tool, right? Visual communication is a picture's worth 1,000 words. A Zoom call to a family member that's far away to keep in touch and stay connected, it isn't as good as being with the person, but it's the next best. Maybe it's the next best thing. I'm going to say it's the next best thing, because, and it's why I don't like talking on the phone personally, but I don't mind Zoom calls. I want to be able to see the person I am communicating with. I want to be able to visually see them. And I think Zoom has been an incredible tool. One of the great things that came out of the pandemic was people actually adopting and accepting communication over Zoom and other medium. But a picture's worth 1,000 words. Sometimes a vision board, for example, is a great way to work on your goals and dreams. It's usually a personal one. I don't think most people share their vision boards with other people. Some do, but I'm pretty close to the hip with my own personal vision board. It's for me. It's not for anyone else. And it's not that I care if they see it. I mean, I know my granddaughters have seen it, but it's not the kind of thing I'm going to pop up on the screen and show everybody. Why? Because what I want out of life is very different. It's similar things we want sometimes, but my specific things that I want out of life, I'm sure are very different than the things that you want. And I don't ever want to put my vision and my ideas onto somebody else. I want you to make sure that you're making things your own. And finally, the newest mode of communication is digital. Anything related to technology, computers, the internet, that all falls under the category of digital. And there are incredible ways and easy ways to enhance our digital communication. We can use it for connecting with people. We can use it for, again, the Zoom calls would be digital and visual. We can use it for doing things in a very inexpensive way that we've never done before. I don't know hardly anybody that sends out physical Christmas cards anymore. Almost everybody does digital cards nowadays for Christmas and birthdays and holidays, and text messages for communicating more than even email anymore. You know, snail mail. I think one of the most powerful things you can do for written communication is actually send a handwritten card or letter in the mail. Why? Because it's a lost art. Number one, they're not even teaching kids cursive in school anymore. It might be back, but I don't think so yet. But who doesn't love to get a card in the mail? Who doesn't love to get a handwritten thank you note in a package, etc.? I think the best Amazon sellers are those that have handwritten or automated handwritten. Even automated handwritten is better than nothing in the products and services that they send out. So what are we going to do today? Again, we're going to pay attention to how we currently use the different modes of communication, right? And just jot down a couple of examples of how you did it, and then maybe think about what you could do better. We're going to dig deeper into how we see ourselves communicating in these different forms tomorrow. Any questions? I did a very perfunctory explanation of these. If you want the write-up, I think it's very, very clear. It gives, again, a personal and a business example for each of the 5 modes of communication, and the benefits, the shortcomings, and what to use it for and how to use it. Now, it's just one example. It's just to give you ideas and more in depth. So if you want that, what do? You put day 63 in the comments below, and I will figure out a way to get it to everybody. That's it. Have an awesome day. If I can help you, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow.